A very warm welcome to all the attendees for the inaugural uh, Pump Symposia organized by Smart Water and Waste World. My name is Kailash Shirodkar, and over the last 2 years, Smart Water and Waste World has organized multiple platforms targeted at specific communities, whether it is the municipal community or the industrial community. But for long, we felt that there was a need where both the communities could come together on a common platform and learn about the latest technology innovations and developments in specific technology areas. And that was where the idea of the Pump Symposia came through. The idea of today's session, the Pump Symposia, is to do a dedicated session exclusively on the innovations in pumping technologies. The pumps have been around for the last close to a century, and there have today a lot of innovations that have happened in this space, that are very vital to the pumping operations in the water and the wastewater systems. And over the day today, we have experts coming both domestically as well as from across the globe who would talk about the various issues and challenges that they face around pumping operations. At the outset, I would like to thank our partners, Kishore Pumps, Aquanomics, Andritz, and Adelino and Flonergia for supporting this initiative from Smart Water and Waste World. And I am sure that over the day we are going to have a wonderful time discussing about the various innovations that have happened in pumping technologies over the years. So to kickstart today, we are going to do a panel discussion on the issues and challenges in pump design and operations. And I would like to invite our key panel members today for this session, Mr. Yogesh Mistry. He is
Thank
the
you.
Chairman Technical Committee for IPMA, the Indian Pump Manufacturers Association. We have Mr. Siddharth Desai, the
Thank you.
Joint Managing Director at Kishore Pumps, India. And we have Mr. KB Vadhwane, ex-deputy hydraulic engineer from the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai, and today a leading trainer and a consultant in the water and the wastewater sector. So welcome to all of you panel members.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you very
thank you
much.
all for joining us today. So I will like to start with you, Mr. Mistry. We have pumps that have been around there for the last close to a century. And as I said, they are very critical component of both the water supply as well as the wastewater sector. So as a key person from the Pump Manufacturers Association, sir, how have you seen the pump industry evolve over the last so many years, and what are the new innovations that we can see in the pumping technology going forward?
As far as the pump industry and the pumps applications are concerned, the 4 to 6 decades, the pump technology was not upgraded so much, which has happened in the last 10 years with the embedding electronics and using the different metallurgy in the pump and pumping applications. So while if you see the early stages of the pumps, which was used as a traditionally for the irrigation and water supply, they were the only the cast iron and the stainless steel construction combinations or branch construction combinations were used with the uh, traditionally sealing of shaft applications, and gradually the mechanical seals has been imported in the pump assemblies. But later on, the use of the sealing elements has been upgraded, and the with the aid of electronics, the lot of monitoring of the pump performance and the conditioning of the pumps are also uh, used in a large scale. while we talk about the electronics in the applications, the self controlling systems can be used with the PLC based electronics. And the remote monitoring is now easy with the GSM technology, with the mobile operated systems, where the users and uh, operators can interact with the system and pumps online. So that is the upgradation has happened in the last 10 years, whereas the users and the manufacturers are going for the electronics and the control system as far as the remote monitoring and remote control is concerned.
So how have you seen the growth for the pump industry maybe for the last 1 year? Has the pandemic severely affected the growth of the pump industry, or how do you see it going forward?
As far as the business concerned for the pump industry, it is growing 7 to 10% consistently. However, last year it was declining. But if we see the agriculture and domestic segment, there still it is stagnant. But industrial and the other application like wastewater, water treatment, and the industry application or infrastructure dewatering, these area are having the consistent growth of 25%.
Okay. So maybe moving on to Siddharth right now. Siddharth, you are one of the leading manufacturers for pumps in India. So, maybe the same question to you. One, how have you seen the growth of the pumps industry over the years? What innovations do you see coming into the sector? And maybe the second part is, has the pandemic affected the growth of the industry over the last 2 years?
Sure. So thank you, Kailaji. I think Mr. Mistry has put very insightful points about how the pump technology as a design or as an equipment has evolved over the last 5-6 decades. So the metallurgy part of it, the sealing part of it, everything has gone a huge shift, especially in terms of the type of stainless steels that have been invented over the last 20-30 years. The shift from normal austenitic stainless steels to more duplex category stainless steel and then super duplex category stainless steels. So that has been a big development in the pump industry in terms of the metallurgy. Similarly, on the sealing, the mechanical sealing side of it, there has been tremendous improvements. In terms of the mechanical innovations, I would say mechanical as well as the hydraulic innovations. The last 10, 20, 30 years, we have seen more or less tapering off of the trajectory. That's the delta of the improvement in the design or the hydraulic or the mechanical design. We have seen more or more tapering off and plateauing of the innovations. But as Mr. Mistry also pointed out, there have been several new age tech innovations which are helping the pump industry. So to put the sequence of these historical innovations in perspective, we talk about Industry 2.0, Industry 3.0, and Industry 4.0. So with regards to the pump industry, Industry 2.0 was more about the manufacturing scale, assembly lines and manufacturing innovations. Industry 3.0 witnessed mass adoption of remote monitoring and remote operation, as well as computational design and computational fluid dynamics, what we call CFD, and automation across the manufacturing chain. Now, with the fourth industrial revolution, what is commonly known as Industry 4.0, the pump industry is now entering into the domain of digitally driven innovations. So some of the main trends that we see within the pump industry, which are being initiated, are, Industry 4.0 generally revolves around artificial intelligence, machine learning, augmented reality, Internet of Things, smart sensors, and of course, additive manufacturing. That's what we call 3D printing. Now, to put the perspective in context for the pump industry, I can think of 3 specific examples or 3 specific areas where the trends and technologies from Industry 4.0 are disrupting how pumps are being manufactured, how they are being operated, and how they are being maintained. So one of the first examples is regarding the maintenance aspects of it. So several pump companies are deploying advanced hardware of sensors combined with machine learning algorithms to have predictive maintenance alerts for pump users. So far we have been used to scheduled maintenance or planned maintenance. So now, it is being, the domain is shifting from planned or scheduled maintenance to predictive maintenance. And these advanced technologies are allowing us to do that. So the shift is from using temperature and noise and vibration data using smart sensors mounted on the pump. The system uses then advanced mathematical models like Fourier transforms and statistical data from the pump, to arrive at possible window of failure of a component. Let's say if a shaft is running with for 4,000 hours, the smart sensors can pick up the vibration, the temperature, and the noise data from that shaft and try to predict that this shaft is likely to fail in the next 2,000 hours or 3,000 hours. So, this kind of systems, they provide alerts to users and they can plan their maintenance procedures accordingly, rather than stick to a set schedule which has been there for several years. So that avoids costly downtimes by taking advanced action, and also avoids unnecessary downtimes at the same time. So this is one specific example which I think is will go a long way in how Industry 4.0 is disrupting the pumps industry. The second important example is, especially in the industrial pumps, there is heavy requirement for a lot of maintenance on the pumps when there is a lot of corrosion or high pressure or high temperature applications. So there is a lot of frequent maintenance requirements that are there. And manufacturers across the world, we always try to simplify the repair and maintenance procedures, but oftentimes these procedures are inherently complicated, so there is not much we can do. Using technologies like augmented reality, where the operators and the maintenance staff can be trained on a periodic basis, where learning and training can happen in a virtual environment. Obviously, it's not as foolproof as building or assembling or maintaining an actual pump, but it gives the framework in which the maintenance team is supposed to operate. And this is particularly very important for industrial applications where downtimes are very costly. So, the augmented reality systems, they introduce beneficial redundancies into the overall maintenance procedures, and they try to maintain the skill sets necessary to maintain and repair the pump on periodic basis. So this is the second example, that specific example which a lot of companies are working on, that's augmented reality. And the third is related to the technology associated with additive manufacturing, that's more commonly or widely known as 3D printing. In these processes, what happens is, efficiency of the pump, it has been a predominant focus in the selection for most applications. There are certain applications where reliability trumps efficiency, but in most of the applications, efficiency still is the predominant selecting factor. Now all manufacturers, we have a range of sizes and models of a particular type of pump, which are suitable for certain duty point applications. And it is highly likely several times that the selected pump or the required duty point may not be at the highest efficiency of the pump, obviously depending on the actual system head characteristics. Now, with 3D printing or additive manufacturing, what is possible is that we can design and manufacture, let's say, an impeller quickly and relatively at low cost, specific to that given duty condition, which is otherwise not possible in the traditional mass manufacturing die or pattern or mold based setup. So that allows us to maximize the efficiency for such applications. Obviously, it may not be applicable for all applications, but for applications which can be identified, which consume a lot of energy over time, they can reduce substantial energy costs for the user, at the same time reducing maintenance because the pump is running at maximum efficiency, and reduce the carbon footprint of the user too. So further, these designs can also be tested using CFD analysis to optimize the design before they are actually going for 3D manufacturing. So looking at these three specific examples which I mentioned, the future trends in innovation will be driven by more and more digital technologies, smart sensors, and the wider trends within Industry 4.0. And we see this globally, as also in India, that a lot of companies are being progressive about this and taking such initiatives for the benefit of their customers. So this is regarding, I would say, my views on the innovation side of it. Regarding the pump market or the growth of the pump market, obviously, financial year 1920, that is when the pandemic struck in late March or early February, there was a certain decline because there was a lot of uncertainty overall in the market. People and customers were not willing to have any fixed investments going forward. But over time, what we see last 2021 and obviously now into 21-22, there has been substantial improvement in the overall market. As Mr. Mistry also mentioned, the industry and the government or infrastructure spends by the government has certainly helped the industry. There has been healthy growth in the wastewater or the sewage treatment sector in the last 2 years. Industry, now we are seeing the lot of interest, that lot of what is being referred to as the capex cycle, the capital expenditure cycle, that is now beginning to look up because of several factors coming together at the same time. So as far as industry and the infrastructure projects like sewage treatment plants are concerned, I think there has been a healthy growth last 2 years, and we do see that continuing in the next 2-3 years as well. So that's those were my opinions and views of the 2 points you mentioned, Kailash. Thank you.
Thanks, Siddharth. I would now like to move, towards the user side and try to get a user perspective. So, Mr. Wadhwani, you have been a part of the hydraulics team at Mumbai. You have vast experience working with utilities and today as a consultant. Sir, in your experience, specifically thinking about pumping infrastructure, what are the issues and challenges that come up, when it comes to pumping technologies? There are a variety of pumps available today. How do utilities go about selecting, choosing the pumps, O&M and all? Would you like to share maybe your experience around the issues that utilities face?
Yes, sure. Actually, first I will try to cover the, what are the issues that we are facing. Like, I would say, first thing is, selecting a right pump for the right application. That is very important, because I have seen in some of the applications earlier, the planning was for say horizontal type of pumps, and then vertical pumps were placed. So I have seen, and then there were the difficulties, like then while operating the pumping station, the main thing is, operating the pump at duty point. That is very important, which at times the operators in the different utilities, they are not well aware. So that awareness is very important. Secondly, I would say the water hammer issue, because whenever there is a power failure, there is a tripping of pumps. And then I have seen that one of the big size pumping station, it was totally submerged on account of this water hammer issue. So selecting a proper type of non-return valve, having a dampening action, that is very, very important. Another aspect is nowadays, all water utilities, they are getting huge bills because this electricity charges have gone up. So the solution would be the individual pump. It should be provided with the required kind of capacitors, and then there should, on top of it, there should be APFC panel, so that it can cater to the varying demand, and you can have power factor as high as say 0.998, and you can derive an incentive as high as 2%. That is very big. I was with Bhandup treatment plant, and I was handling 1910 MLD plant, which is supposed to be the biggest in Asia. And by doing so, by providing APFC panels and all, we could save up to 7 to 8 lakh per month, like that, because our electricity bill is around 4 crores per month, like that. So that is very important. Another thing I would like to tell here regarding the challenges or the things which need to be, ascertained at a design stage, because most of these bigger size pumping stations, they have the problem of cavitation. If you do the calculations well, everyone knows that this, available should be greater than required. If that condition is satisfied, then there should be cavitation. But practically it is happening because the sump design is not done properly. Because I have presented one paper exclusively on cavitation, because I have, rather we had faced that problem. I have rectified that problem to some extent. But when further study was made, it was like, whatever 5 times D distance is required between the parallel pumps, that was not maintained. So while when two pumps become dynamic and they deliver the water, the stream, there will be two streams in the sump, you can imagine. And wherever there is a separation kind of zone, there the vortices would be formed, and that vortices, it leads to the cavitation. And I could see even big size impellers, the impeller diameter of say 900 millimeter or 1 meter, you can say roughly. All those veins, those were damaged, and there were big holes. The pump efficiency had hampered. So we have to just as a temporary measure, we did that phosphor bronze impellers, we change it to stainless steel. So, but there are people from the pump industry, we know that cavitation is in fact a system problem. But so we did some improvements within the available, thing, because design as such could not be changed later on. So these are the things I would say in operation and maintenance. And the one more thing is very important is, like, nowadays operators, they are not trained properly, because earlier, in old days, the operation activity was with the utility. And somehow I find the utility people, they might be slow moving, but they were doing it right as per the schedules or as per the checklist provided for a pump unit. But later nowadays, what has happened, most of the contracts, O&M contracts, I would say, uh, they are going to the private parties, and they are subletting it further. Then there is no control over the skills of the operators. So capacity building of all these people, and somehow regularizing the things in a way, I want to say that there should be a standard document whenever we want to outsource something for operation and maintenance. All those things, including qualification, his skills, then the trainings, at intervals. So that is very important. What next, sir? Would like to know.
So what I will do, sir, I will try to take one topic at a time, the issues and challenges that you took up. So maybe Mr. Mistry, I will come to you. That one of the first points Mr. Wadhwani made was about selecting the right pump for the right application. How would you recommend that maybe utilities or industrial users, how should people go about taking the right or selecting the right pump when it comes to the right application? Would you give some kind of steps that they should follow? Sir, you are on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Selection is an issue while if we see the users across the applications like domestic applications, agriculture applications, even in most of the cases, industrial and other wastewater commercial establishment applications. So this gives rise the many field problems where the selection is incorrect. As Mr. Wadhwani mentioned, that the cavitation and the other problems which are related to the system as well as the pump selection. As far as the cavitation is concerned, the system it is contributing 50%. However, the pump is contributing 50% if it is not selected properly. and it is not designed, the inlet design is not done. So the NPSHR requirement by the pump should be as low as possible. That is the one criteria. However, as you are asking for the steps, like he mentioned that pump should be operating at near about the duty point, which is not taken care while selecting, while using. So with the aid of electronics now, the VFDs are used to vary the pump performance to meet the various system or operating conditions requirement, where if it is integrated with the proper electronics system, PFD and PLC, then it gives rise the optimum performance for the various application. Now, if we talk about the technology also, I would raise one point that in a coming years, the permanent magnet synchronized motor, which is popularly called known as a DC motor or BLDC motor, PMSM motors are now going to be used very predominantly in a pump industry also. Earlier, it was majorly used in the refrigeration, air conditioning, the white goods industry. But since the solar pumping application, the PMSM motors are widely applied in the pump applications also, which has got the higher efficiency, as well as it has got the feedback system from this applications, which can be controlled and monitored. So these are the things which are going to useful for the various users of different applications.
So maybe coming to you, Siddharth, one of the points that Mr. Wadhwani mentioned was that one, was energy. He talked of a bill of around 4 crores that used to come per month. Obviously, energy is going to be a huge factor in the decision making while selecting pumps. How do you look about to adding to what Mr. Mistry said, that how should one go about taking a decision to select the right pump?
So I think Mr. Wadhwani and Mr. Mistry have made very valid points regarding the selection, because as a manufacturer, I couldn't agree more the importance of selection in terms of not only an efficient operation, but also reliability and long-term operation of the pump. With regards to efficiency, apart from the duty point, I mean, that is the primary point, primary fundamental approach that we need to take, that selecting the pump which is going to operate at the duty point. But over and above that, I think there are several other factors, especially in industrial and wastewater applications, which also affect the efficiency. One of them is the type and the amount of solids or size of the solids that are required to be pumped. Although pumps are not designed to handle all types of solids, but with non-clog designs, we can handle certain type of solids. What happens is, if the pump manufacturer is not aware of what type of solids are being required to handle, then it can either lead to choking, which can lead to reliability issues as well as efficiency issues, or the other extreme, that if the manufacturer provides a pump based on the inputs for a certain size, and if the actual solids that are going to come into the pumping station are smaller than what they're designed for, that also leads to a lot of duration in the efficiency. So selecting the pump suitable for the required solid size and solid types is a very crucial factor in, let's say, wastewater applications when it comes to maximizing the efficiency. Second important point is in terms of the sealing that is required, and this is for, let's say, industrial applications. Many times the right type of sealing is extremely essential for ensuring that the pump is operating at correct efficiency. Why? Because depending on the temperature and the corrosion behavior and the solids content of that liquid, the sealing may result in more duration, or it can lead to complete breakdown of the pump. So what I would like to lead this point into is the importance of all the selection criteria that manufacturers ask to the users. What we as manufacturers have observed is there is certain level of awareness that is required from the user side, about why certain parameters that the manufacturers ask while doing the selection are required. We try to do it all the time with our customers, but users should understand and appreciate that manufacturers ask certain questions so that they can select the right pump and it can operate at the right efficiency and with highest possible reliability. The second point about efficiency, which I would like to extend, Mr. Mistry mentioned, is about the VFDs. Last 10 years or 15 years, the cost of VFDs have reduced drastically. Before that, a 5 kilowatt VFD used to cost somewhere around 45,000-50,000. Now it is barely about 4,000 or 5,000. So the cost of VFDs have reduced drastically, and I think more and more users should take advantage of that, because what happens as a pump manufacturer and a designer, what we have observed is that it is not, especially in infrastructure or industrial projects, it is not possible or practically feasible to pinpoint the exact duty point at the design stage. So it often leads to oversizing or undersizing of the pumps, more oversizing than undersizing at times. When the pump is actually installed and operated, the user realizes that the duty point is, so the head is less than what is predicted or what is designed. Now, changing the pump or the impeller leads to cost overruns as well as the efficiency duration. This is where VFD can really come in place, because they can allow the pump to operate at the best possible efficiency. I'm not saying maximum efficiency, but the best possible efficiency with the reduced cost overruns. And this can alleviate some of the problems associated with selecting the pump during the design stage, because we have seen, and it is really difficult for users or consultants to pinpoint the exact duty point where the pump will run once installed. So leveraging VFDs and smart systems, I think we can do kind of a post analysis of a post improvement in the efficiency of the pumps once they are installed. So that is what the user should also focus on and be more proactive in using such technologies for efficiency improvements.
So yeah, Mr. Mistry.
Yeah, I would like to add Mr. Siddharth's viewpoint further. That as far as the industrial or commercial or wastewater, most of the manufacturers has got their software to select the pump. So they should use the software or tool provided by the pump manufacturer so that it will give the right selection. And second thing, as far as the specific applications are concerned, where the liquids are different and mixing of liquids are there, of course, there the manufacturer experience with the various applications will be required to have the right pump. So if these two things are done at the preliminary stage, that will give the efficient system or application solution for specific application. Second, in case of especially the wastewater and water treatment, if we users can go for the more and more positive displacement pump where it can be applied, because positive displacement pumps are more efficient than the centrifugal pump. So these three things, if we users take care during the preliminary stage, it will give the efficient and right solution for the application.
So we have a few questions that have come up for Mr. Mistry and Siddharth. I will take them up, but I'll go back to Mr. Wadhwane now. Sir, we have a question from the audience saying, what is your experience? Is how severe is the problem of corrosion of pumps?
Corrosion of pumps, I would say in the freshwater industry, that corrosion of pumps problem is almost nil. And if you move to the wastewater industry, then I would say it is little. And if you move further to the industrial application, so depending on the pH, yes, there is a severe kind of problem as far as corrosion is concerned.
Yeah, and Mr. Wadhwane, I think you raised your hand. You wanted to add to maybe
actually further to what Desai sir had pointed out. I wanted to give few tips, or I want to cite few examples. Like he rightly said, this solid handling capacity of the pump is very, very important. And as we probably many of us know that more the size the efficiency of the pump goes down. But I have seen while working as a wastewater consultant, actually in any of the wastewater treatment plant, you will have core screen like, and the filtering capacity would be 20 size solids or any material you can say. But still people are going for a pump which will have a 100 millimeter solid handling capacity, and at times manufacturers are playing trick while framing the specifications. What I feel is, okay, when you have a provision to remove the 20 millimeter and above size material, then it's okay. 40 or 50 is okay, but unnecessary going for 100 millimeter, and then all those kind of things are there. So that should be avoided. It should be, as far as solid handling is concerned, it is very important, because if your efficiency is less, then over the life of the pump, you can imagine how much you are going to lose the money. Like, that is one. Secondly, in a wastewater industry, we have the intermediate pumping and main pumping, and in CPHU manual, actually there is a condition, or rather guideline, that whatever is the dry weather flow, or we call it average flow, so one pump will be 3 times of the size of that. Suppose it is 100 mld, you can say average flow, then 300 mld it will be one pump like. Then two pumps will be of same 300 mld, and half of that, then let's say 150 mld, two pumps will be there. This condition has come taking into consideration 30 years of design of a particular, say, wastewater plant. But as far as our mechanical electrical things are concerned, it's we treat life getting over in 15-20 years only. So by the time those pumps are really come into picture for their application or the delivery of the water, its life gets over, like, as per the. So there something is required to be done. The third thing from design side, sir, many specifications, they are just putting the pump should be, they will put submersible pump in the specifications. They will say it should be 75% efficient, or 80% efficient. And then later on, if you look at the Q and H, and if you calculate the specific speed, you'll find that specific speed comes as low as 50, 40, and at times it is not possible to reach to that efficiency. So I would say the pump selection or the design part of it from the specific speed point of view is very, very important, and we have to pay attention to that, which type of pump we have selected, and what efficiency we are really asking for, and whether it is feasible. So these aspects, I feel they are very important, and I thought it is worth mentioning in this forum. So I just mentioned it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Wadhwani. What I'll do is I'll take a few questions that have come up from the audience. So Siddharth, the question that has come to you is that they say that you have just mentioned that the varying size of solid, can affect pump performance. But sometimes the practical issue is that solid sizes given during selection is based on past data or certain assumptions. And there is always a difference between solid size considered and the actual solid size during the run. So what should be the best solution in such a scenario?
So it is a very common issue faced by a lot of pump manufacturers. And as Mr. Wadhwani has mentioned, the type of screening here plays a very crucial role. I mean, what we have observed is the major difference between what is the solid size during selection and what is during the actual operations. I think oftentimes that difference is coming from the fact that the screens are not functioning to the best capacity or that efficiency. So I think rather than focusing on what the pumps can do, I think what the focus should be on how efficiently the screens can be operated and maintained. My experience, personal experience also, what I have seen is that unfortunately in India, there are a lot of open sewers. I'm talking about wastewater applications. So a lot of open sewers which take a lot of the big solids into the STPs or the pumping stations. When that happens, the screens start clogging more often, and that leads to more and more manpower requirement for removing or cleaning the screens. Sometimes some operators just bypass the screens in that case and allow everything to flow into the pump pit, and then that the problem starts. So I think my first suggestion here would be that rather than addressing this point, looking at the pumps, this point should be addressed looking at how efficiently and properly the screens can be operated. In fact, nowadays, a lot of the plants are proposing or also installing screens in series. So as Mr. Wadhwani mentioned, there is a core screen at the beginning, and sometimes there is a fine screen following that core screen also. So the core screen filters out large solids, maybe up to 40-50 millimeters, and then the fine screen filters out solids somewhere about 15 to 20 millimeter size. So this approach we have seen being used more and more widely now. It is useful, but the important point here is that the pump should, the screen should operate the way they are designed to be operated. In terms of the pumps, I would say that as Mr. Wadhwani correctly mentioned, that the solid size the solid passage size that is to be designed by the pump at the time of selection, the minimum we can keep it, the more efficient the pump will be. So this is something the manufacturer and the operator or the designer, they have to sit across the table and discuss that what is the realistic solid size that will they expect to be receiving at the pumping or at the suction of the pump. If it can be well controlled, then we can obviously give a pump with a solid size of 20 or 40 millimeter, which will be much more efficient than the pump with 100 millimeter solid size. So the functional operation of the screen and a realistic approach towards what kind of solids they expect at the pumping pit, I think this is what needs to be looked at to address this issue of solid pumps, solid in the pumps.
One more point to the solid handling, that some people are using the cutter or muncher kind of things in the line at appropriate location. That also gives rise the uniformity and the solid content.
Yes, that's a good point.
Okay, but sir, I fully agree with what Siddharth sir said, because it is a more of a problem of your preliminary treatment in terms of screening than the pump. And if you I have visited many STPs and pumping stations, especially sewage wastewater we are talking about. Then my observation is most of the pumps are failing due to clogging. This is the main problem. But the problem is not with the pump. Problem is the screening, which is there just before the water enters into the water sump. There is a problem, and that need to be addressed first.
Mr. Mistry, we have a question from Santosh Patil. He says that typically Indian pump manufacturers mainly export. So he's saying, how do we overcome this new challenge of minimum efficiency index, which is being implemented in Europe and US regulations?
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Santosh. The manufacturers from India who are exporting to the mostly Middle East and European countries. In Europe, the MEI, Minimum Efficiency Index, has been implemented, and in our country also through the Indian standards, the BIS committee is going to implement the MEI equivalent system, so that our manufacturers will also upgrade our efficiency levels to the world requirement. As far as the pump manufacturers and designs are concerned, of course, we need to review where the improvements can be done as far as the efficient pumps are concerned. As I mentioned in the beginning, that since 40 to 50 years, 4-5 decades, there was not much change in the pump manufacturing technology and design aspect. Whereas recently, with the Bureau of Energy Efficiency implemented the star labeling for the pumps since last 8 years, the efficiency upgradation in the most of the pumps are took place. And now with the 5-star, even the BE has enhanced the requirement of star labeling requirement for the efficiency. So these are the things which are giving the improvement in the efficiency of the pump. Whereas the technology has also changed to meet the efficiency requirement, like I mentioned, the more and more PMSM motors applications are being applied for wherever the higher efficiency requirement is there. And we know that the more and more pumps for agriculture and water applications are being manufactured in the stainless steel fabrication technology, with the fabrication technology, which has got the better efficiency than the casted components. So these are the things which are giving rise to the our upgradation of pumps in India also. So we are matching with the world requirement or the other European standards as far as the efficiency is concerned.
Mr. Wadhwani, we have a question to you from Anthony. He is asking, how do you address pipe hammering issues due to pressure fluctuations and check valve hammering, which can alter alignment of the pump with the drive?
Okay. For that, I will first talk about the design part. Normally, see, any pipeline is designed for a particular pressure, working pressure. And then finally, if some thickness comes to say 10 millimeter, then you have to do a check with the water hammer. There are the calculations. And with water hammer, maybe you will be required to provide say 12 millimeter thickness. So that should be initially done, and the pressure should be predicted properly. Then secondly, I would say the non-return valves, those should be with the proper dampening arrangement. And if the system calls for the air vessels for the further dampening, those air vessels should also be provided. And nowadays, even anti-vacuum walls are in the market. So whenever there is such a condition, exists or just comes in, a lot of air will be introduced, and then the damage could be minimized or avoided. So these are some of the methods to avoid water hammer. And as regards the due to water hammer, at times if there is no closure of the valve properly, then the pump may rotate in a reverse direction. So valve closing should be at the right moment, because if we check the velocity pattern, it will be in a forward direction, and then it will try to reverse. In between, there will be somewhere there will be zero velocity. If we are able to close the valve at a zero velocity, there will hardly be any slap, and it will be a very correct response to the situation.
So Siddharth, we have a question to you. It's come from Mr. Kondala Gonu Guntala, I think from Hyderabad. He's saying, please clarify regarding the ceiling limits for pump stations. Is it necessary to provide VFDs for pumps, though the average head and duty are known, which don't significantly change?
Sorry, the Kailaji, the first part of question I didn't understand correctly. The ceiling limits.
So he's saying, can you clarify regarding the ceiling limits for pump stations?
Okay, let me think over it, but I'll answer the second point first. The VFD use of VFDs is beneficial when one condition, as we discussed earlier, is that when you have an unknown or a varying duty point or a system curve of the pump. The second is VFDs are often used for energy savings. I mean, that is one of the primary criteria for using VFD. VFDs can provide you the energy savings provided the system curve is what we call as the friction head dominated rather than static head dominated. What it means is, if you have a large vertical lift and a small length of the pipeline to be pumped, that is the smaller frictional losses and more static lift, then the VFD may not be able to offer you the right energy savings. The reasons and details for that we can discuss later, but that is the fundamental philosophy of VFD. Whereas when you have a pipeline or a system which has a long pipeline and very limited or small vertical lift in the system, you can realize a lot of the maximum energy savings using VFD. So understanding where VFD will be applicable and where it will not be applicable, or rather I would say, what are your expectations of a VFD? If it's maximizing energy savings using VFD, then you have to be aware of what is your system, whether it's friction head dominated system or a static head dominated system. And the second point is, for considering a VFD, you have to have, I mean, you have to have some sense of your variation in your duty point once the pump is installed. So if you expect that the actual head in the system will be lower than the design head, then it might make sense to invest in a VFD and install a VFD. But if you are expecting a pump to operate continuously 24/7 at a fixed duty point, and if it is operating exactly at that duty point, I think VFDs from a operation or an energy savings perspective may not offer much benefit. If the pump is going to operate exactly at one duty point continuously 24/7. Having said that, if the cost differential between VFD and a traditional other control panel, if it's direct online or Star Delta or ATS, whatever it is, soft starter, I think the cost differential needs to be assessed. If it's a cost if the VFD is more costly, multiple times costly than the traditional control panel for such duty points where the pump is going to operate at a fixed duty point continuously, then you might as well go for a traditional control panel. But if the cost differential is not much, and if you think that it's fitting in your capital budget, then having a VFD will give you the flexibility in the system later on. So that was regarding where VFD is used. Now, in terms of the ceiling limits, I think if I understand the question correctly, it is more to do about what are the pressure ratings in a pump or the pipeline. When you refer to ceiling, I think it's CEILING, not SEALING. Is that right?
Yeah, it is CEILING.
Yeah, so ceiling limit is basically the upper limits of the flow or head of a pump. As you know, the pump characteristic curve, as you increase the flow, or rather when you open the valve, the head reduces. And when you close the valve, the head increases. This is for a centrifugal pump, centrifugally operated pump. So the limits of the pump have to be decided based on, so the manufacturer will decide, will always give you the range of operation of a pump depending on that particular manufacturer and the size of that pump. So to put it in right perspective, the ceiling limits will primarily be given by the manufacturer, that you operate the pump between, let's say, 20% of your duty point to 110% or 120% of the duty point in general condition. But if it's a very critical condition or a very critical operation, or if it's a long pump with very small supports in between, something like that, for corrosion behavior or something like that, then the manufacturer may reduce that limit. You have to discuss with the manufacturer what are the limits of operation of a pump, and then come to a common conclusion to decide those limits to suit your application.
So we have a lot of questions that have come up, but we are coming to the end of the panel discussion time. We are going to have Siddharth doing the next presentation, and I will take up many of these questions there. But Mr. Mistry, one of the common questions that I see across in most of these is the impact of digital technologies going forward on pumping, equipment. Can you maybe at the end talk about how digital technologies are going to impact the pumping solutions?
Yeah, as I mentioned that the lot of PLC based and the VFD integrated with the pumping system is giving rise the solution to the many system problems or application side problems. As Mr. Siddharth has mentioned also that the VFD where the cost has been reduced, and if it is affordable, then it is better to use, because it gives rise to the soft start as well as the adjusting the pump performance requirement vis-a-vis to the system requirement. So whenever we say that it is the fixed operating point, but in actual system, it is not going to be fixed even within certain range. It is going to vary with the operations. So varying with the VFD and the other PLC based system are going to impact the pump technology, as well as I mentioned about the permanent magnet motors, which are having the increased used in the pumping application, which will bring the electronics embedding and the control system with the feedback operation, feedback to the system will give rise to the efficient and the controlled operation at this site level. Second, the SCADA system has also been imparted for the various remote monitoring, and even for the people manufacturer who are offering to the third party with the inspection at remotely. So that can be done, the witnessing the quality and the performance. So all these things are going to impacting and already in use. These are the electronics which is going to impact the pump industry and pump applications as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mistry. This brings us to the end of the panel discussion today. We have a whole lot of technical questions that I will take up maybe with Siddharth once he finishes his session. I would like to thank Mr. Mistry, Mr. Wadhwane and Siddharth for taking time out of their schedules and participating in this panel discussion and addressing questions from the audience. So thank you, Mr. Wadhwane and Mr. Mistry.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Moving